Hey folks, welcome to the Anti-Social Podcast. My name is Andy Dowling. You know the drill, but I'm going to show a bit of gratitude right now. Kick it off straight away. Each and every week, if you are new to the podcast, I should explain, each and every week I thank somebody that supports me. It could be in a range of different ways from, one of the podcasts, whether it be Anti-Social or Self-Starter or Lord. And it could be things such as leaving a review online. It could be buying some merch. It could be a bit of social media love, recommending me guests, nice messages, just feedback, encouragement, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Like it all adds up and it means a hell of a lot to me. And I love hearing from you guys, especially when times get a little bit tough and, all these things become a challenge at times and you wonder, oh, geez, should I just keep doing this? Or it's just so hard and I have a bit of a whinge and a meltdown. Pardon me, I was getting emotional then. All these little things give me a little spark and just keep me going and keep me motivated and fueled. And it just means so much to me. It just ensures that this stuff continues to go and I never regret it. And I'm always so happy that I continue to push through any mental barriers that I put up in front of me. And your help definitely helps me get through some of these tougher moments along the way. But each and every week I shout out for one person in particular that supports me in any particular way. So this week's shout out is for Shane Whitaker. Shane is from Penrith. He's from the Riff in Sydney, in Sydney's western suburbs. I love the Riff. Shane's bought a patch. I'm getting a few patch sales. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. As I've mentioned in previous episodes, for people that have bought patches, Shane, I'd love to see a photo. If you're repping it some way on a jacket or on a vest or on a bag or whatever it is, flick me a picture. I'd love to share it online so other people can see, and it's just cool to see what people are doing with these patches. But really appreciate it, and I'm stoked that people are buying these patches. I'm going to get some more done. I want to get some, I shouldn't use the word novelty, but I want some really cool, just joke patches or just things that might be tied into the podcast a little bit. I'll make them cool enough that people will actually want to put them on something. I'll park that idea for the time being, but there are things in the back of my mind that I'll eventually get to. But by you guys buying these things and buying a patch or a t-shirt or the USB pass or any other merchandise that I've got available, that money goes back in to printing up the next idea or restocking something that's been selling really well. So it all just goes back in and just keeps everything funded, and it helps me grow this thing. So Shane, really appreciate the support. When you hear this, shoot me a message. I will send you out a little gift pack, a little bundle of goodies. Nothing special, nothing amazing, but we all love getting something in the mail. It's a nice little surprise, a little bit of anyway, I'm talking on behalf of myself here. I get a little adrenaline rush when I get something in the post, so I don't know about everybody else, but I'm going to send something out to you, Shane. Thank you so much for the support, and thank you to everyone that continues to support me. It means a hell of a lot. You folks probably know already, but I play bass in the Australian metal band Lord. If you love a bit of old school heavy metal, go to lord.net.au. You can click on our website, which is pretty shit hot. You can stream our music. You can watch our video clips. You can see our history, our historical data of the band, merchandise, our entire back catalogue's there. It's a great way to get a little taste of what we're all about. lord.net.au. Go and give that a crack. In addition to playing in a heavy metal band, I also host the Self-Starter podcast, which is all about small business, self-employment, or freelancing. So if you're about to launch your own business, or you hate your job and you want to do something with a bit more purpose, you've got an idea, or you just want to earn a little bit of coin on the side, go to selfstarter.com.au. There's a fortnightly podcast episode. There's blogs there. Lots of resources. It's been giving a lot of value for a lot of people so far. It's just been fantastic. And I would love to hear from you and get more guest suggestions as well. And if you know somebody out there that might find this podcast of interest, please pass it around as well. lord.net.au, selfstarter.com.au. Thank you very much for the support. This week's episode is with Tim Gauci. Tim is the product specialist for ESP Guitars Australia. He is the frontman in Melbourne metal band Primitive, and he's also a YouTuber. He's got his own YouTube channel where he reviews gears and guitars. So a pretty cool guy and doing lots of cool stuff. So you can follow Tim on all of the socials, Facebook and Instagram, as well as YouTube by searching Tim MKV. And you can search for Primitive on Facebook and Instagram by searching Primitive, PRIMITIVEAUS. And Primitive's on Bandcamp as well, so that's primitiveaus.bandcamp.com. But as always, everything will be in the show notes over at antisocial.net. Really cool chat. We talked metal, guitars, being a vlogger on YouTube, Lots of cool stuff. Really nice guy. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. As always, everything's in the show notes over at andysocial.net. Enough of me. Please enjoy this great chat with Tim Gauci.
Hey, Andy.
Tim, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, good. Third time's a charm.
That's right. I was wondering if it was me or like what was going on, but
No,
it's all good.
I'm sure you can relate. Like those times where you get on stage and you're about to start playing and you hit the strings in your guitar and you go, shit, there's no sound coming out. And so then you go, all right, it's time to backtrack. Okay, so wireless is plugged in. That's on. Okay, so preamp goes into okay, everything. So you're linking every wire up, and then suddenly you realize that one lead's unplugged, or one thing hasn't been turned on,
or my tuner's on, or
yeah, that's it.
My volume's down.
Yeah, so that's right. So I one thing, I didn't turn the right channel on for my Zoom, and I thought, okay, that's it. I'll do that again. And then the second time I realized that I actually didn't have my phone plugged in at all. So there you go. I mean,
that's all right.
I would say it's a plight of a bass player, but
no,
I might offend a few other bass players out there.
I have been there way too many times. I don't think you need to play bass to be that sort of guy. I get it. I know exactly what's going on.
Well, we got there in the end. So yeah, how's things? What's going on?
Yeah, things are good, man. I'm just at home at the moment. It's nearly the end of the work week, so prepping for some shows and getting some merch and all that sort of stuff ready for Japan and all that. So. Just working away, just doing the old adult things, I guess. Adulting whilst doing kid things, being in a band. It's always fun.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys are playing with Psychroptic in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, super pumped for that, man. Like it's a show that I think was on like the goal list from the get-go, is just to play with some metal legends, and Psychroptic is definitely one of them, and it's a massive bonus to have Arcspire and Hadel Moore just sort of, opening that show is a pretty big honor for us. So we're pretty stoked.
It's it's a good bunch of blokes playing that show, and some dudes that have been around for quite a while. So yeah, some good company there. And by the time this episode comes out, because I'm doing some mad batch recording at the moment, the show would be long gone. So you can also give me your review of the show right now if you want to say how awesome it was.
Oh well, the thing is that I hit the first note and no sound was coming out. So
well played.
No, look, I can probably say it was probably the best show we've ever played. I would say that.
Good stuff. Yeah, I like it. Hey, you mentioned before you go to Japan. Is that with the band, or are you doing ESP stuff over there?
It's a bit of both, to be honest. So I'll be me and the drummer, so in the band, who's nicknamed Barnsey.
Yep.
He and I will be traveling with our partners for the first, I guess, 2.5 weeks or something like that. So we've never been to Japan, so we'll do the touristy stuff.
Awesome.
And then we meet up with the other boys a little later on and do 4 shows. And that's with Origin, The Crown, and another Australian band Descent.
Yep.
So that'll be killer. And then after that, I get a day of sleeping, and then I'm off to do some work stuff for I think it's about 2 or 3 days afterwards. So that'll entail pretty much we'll have some ESP dealers, some retailers coming down to the country, and we'll check out the ESP custom shop and educational facilities and a whole bunch of stuff that they offer down there. So it'll be a hectic. I think I'm there for probably just under a month. So it'll be great.
Oh yeah, a bit jealous of the amount of time you're going over there. I've been there a few times over the years, but I think the most amount of time I've spent there is about 10 days, and like I'm never ready to go. Like it's one of those countries where I could just never get tired of going there. It's just it's just such a, and for you, like even whenever somebody says, "Oh, I haven't been there and I'm about to go there," I get excited for them, because it's like it's that moment where you just walk in the middle of like Tokyo or in Shinjuku or something, you just look around and just go, oh my God. Like it's just such it's like another world. It's just incredible, and people are super polite, everything's cool, and you sort of start going, I kept repeating over and over going, man, like why isn't it like this at home? Like it's incredible. And you do miss home and you appreciate home, but it's just some things that they do over there and the way that they approach certain things in everyday life is just, there's just so much efficiency and things are clean and people are cool and just really polite and courteous. And it's just like, oh man, this is nice.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the one thing I've heard, especially like Tokyo is just like there are, people ask how long I'm going to be there for, and I think I'm going to be there for probably about a week, and they're like, "Nah, it's probably not even enough time to discover everything."
Yeah.
And that freaks me out alone. It's like, well, I guess I've got to go back. So it's a place that, like, personally, I've always wanted to go because of the ESP thing, and just for the sake of, I'm a bit of a nerd in anime stuff and all that. And
Oh yeah.
so all that and the gamings and like arcade and all that sort of stuff will be just a really cool experience. I'm a super fussy eater, so that'll be something that I'll have to suck up. But you got to live with these things, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, the good thing about Japan is that over the last probably over the last 10 to 15 years, it's probably been a bit longer, but they've really sort of opened up more and more to the Western world. So and we've been over there with a few friends that have been fussy eaters, but probably not in the same vein as you, like just probably more so because they're just not terribly adventurous. Like some people got some strict diets and that's why they're a bit fussy, whereas others are just like, I just only like a couple of things and that's it. And look, you can get everything there. Like all the big chains are there. You can, if worst case scenario, you can get some rubbish, some American rubbish there, or there's actually the convenience stores are super cool. Like the quality of food in the convenience stores are like better than like most places you can get in Australia. So you'll be sweet. The only time where you'll sort of go, oh, I'm a bit out of my comfort zone might be if you get taken out with the ESP guys or some of the other the promoters or anything like that, and you're in a restaurant where there's no English menu. You just start bringing stuff out and you'll just have to size things up and just go, oh, all right, YOLO. We'll see how we go.
Well, it's the past 27 years and I drove my parents crazy. I don't know why, but it's just like schnitzel and chips. And that's pretty much the diet for the most part. It's bad. But it's I think it's a good opportunity just to try heaps of stuff. And if I do whimper out or something, I heard there's some really good fried chicken at 7-Eleven.
Oh yeah.
Over there. So
yeah, you'll be fine. I mean, I grew up in Queensland in Bougainville eating chicken nuggets and chips. So I can completely relate to you, man. And you'll be 100% fine over there. And if you're feeling adventurous, you'll be amongst really polite Japanese people, and so you'll almost feel politely pressured to try food because you won't want to eat something. Yeah, but it's cool, man. It'll be a trip being there, and you'll just I can't even explain the sort of things that you'll get to experience, and also with the ESP stuff because and as you know, we've been with ESP for quite a few years. Yeah. We've got some really good ties with the guys in Japan. So we know Makoto. I met Joji when I was there in May for the first time. And, done the Musician Institute clinics in a number of different cities and just all the big boss stores and everything over there. And, I mean, I know that you're a massive... I mean, obviously, you're what's your proper title? It's product specialist, I think, for ESP guitars in Australia. And you're a big ESP fanboy, and I can see it and everything that just looking online and seeing all the stuff that you do. When you go there, I think it will validate all the love that you have for this brand, and it will elevate it to if you're not already at an obsessive level, you will hit it and probably crack through. Oh, absolutely, man! It's like the amount of attention to detail and care that they put into everything they do, and the passion that they have for this brand is just it's so hard to describe. And when you walk through the factory and you see the custom shops and you see the dudes that are just working there, that have been working for that brand for decades, it's just you just walk away just going, "This is incredible." It's and for them, it's originated there, the passion's there, it's so much loyalty to that brand. Whereas the brand's obviously extended into other territories, as you know, and in some of the sort of larger markets, there's a bit more churn and burn with certain models. But in Japan, they put so much pride into their stuff. It's just, it's so cool. So you'll get all those. I mean, I'm sure you've got a pretty good idea of what you're going to be walking into with a lot of this stuff, and you'll know some of the contacts over there. But I'm excited for you. I kind of wish I was there, just lurking like creep in the background, just going, oh, can't wait to see Tim's reaction when he walks through that factory or the custom shop and things like that.
It'll definitely be when I started guitar or learning guitar, or whatever. My first guitar was an LTD Viper 50.
Yep.
Which was, I guess it just sort of started it all, and then I got an EX400. And then I think I got an EC1000, and then I started getting some ESP stuff. I got my first custom shop, not like a couple of years ago. So yeah, it's been like the love for the brand has been long before I was ever in, I don't know, quote unquote, the industry, I should say. Yeah. I was going to say the music business, so I don't know if that kind of counts, but but the industry, long before I was even in retail or. So just when I started playing guitar, I've always had a fascination with the brand, and that's obviously a big part. I think probably like a lot of us is, we saw the live shit DVDs, Metallica, and just slamming MX220s like no tomorrow. So that was a huge thing for me, and that's what started it all. But so you were there for? Did you say you stayed there for 10 days?
Well. I don't know how many times I've been there over the years, but the first time I went there was in 2005, and I've probably been back about 7 or 8 times over the years.
Oh, wow.
Playing shows, and then I've gone there to visit, and then I was just recently there in May on a bit of a drunken 5 days with some mates, and so I hit up Makoto beforehand and said, hey, you around? He's like, oh yeah, let's have a drink. And so I was like, okay, cool. And I said, oh, by the way, if you're free, I said, do you mind if we just quickly stop by the factory just for half an hour or something like that? So super polite guy, and he showed a couple of the guys around, and everyone was just like, oh my god, like this is crazy. And I'm just like, yeah, see, right. I told you guys, I told you. But it's just such a cool place, and like I was only there for about 5 days in May, but I think the most I've ever been there in one stint is 10. And I've done probably 3/4 of the country. There's still the far north and south that I haven't quite hit, but most of the main areas I've been to, and it's just I've got over the years of playing there and the history with our band there, we've been really lucky that we've had some success there, and so we've got just friends all over the shop, and I've learnt a lot. One of the things, like as I said before, about their manners and their courtesy and their respect for people, or the way that they handle each other, and especially foreigners as well. And it's probably a bit of saving face and making sure that they're seen to be representing their country appropriately, but it really sort of puts a lens back on yourself and your own mannerisms and the way that you hold yourself. And then you start to think, like, one of the first things that I saw was, oh man, I am such a rude slob. And I just started like questioning everything that I did. And I thought, oh man, I've got no self-respect. I've got no respect for anybody else. And I thought I was quite a nice guy, but you just start to really appreciate everybody that you know. And it's not just like my Japanese friends, but just everybody. And like, they're really big on giving gifts. They're big on acknowledgements and staying in touch, and it's gestures and things like that mean a lot to them. It's the acknowledgement that, they're thinking of one another, and they're very simple things. And like, I think, here in Australia, or just a lot of the Western countries, we take that shit for granted.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I can see that somebody's online on Facebook. Yeah, oh, they're alive. That's fine. Or we might bump into them drunk at a gig or something like that. Yeah, that's fine. And that's about it. Or maybe it's a holiday, like a Christmas or an Easter or something like that, family gathering. And that's about the extent of it. But over there, it's just, everything's just there's a keeping up appearances, and there's probably a level of stress there that they have, but it's just a really beautiful thing to see them interact like that. So it's a real eye opener.
You got me very excited. I want to go there now.
And when do you fly out?
Oh gee, I don't remember. I think it's August 31st.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Fly out like crack of dawn sort of thing. So I think we get there. Oh no, I think we fly out really late actually, and that makes us get there early in the morning. I could be wrong. I don't know. Yeah,
no worries. And whereabouts in Japan are you going? Is it mainly Tokyo or just a few other places?
I think we do Tokyo for about 4 or 5 days, and then we'll go down to, we'll do like Hiroshima, Osaka, Kyoto, and then we do the tour, which is Osaka, Nagoya, and Tokyo again. So it's kind of like, I think we start at Tokyo, we go all the way down, and then just sort of work our way back up again.
Awesome, man. I'm jealous.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, I just got back and I want to go back again.
Yeah.
It's so cool, man. It's like, and I get so excited when anybody just mentions Japan. I'm like, oh yeah, let's talk about Japan for a million hours. But and I guess because you're traveling down south, you'll be using the bullet train and all that as well. Yeah. Oh man. Oh, jealous.
It'll be
so cool,
I have a feeling it'll be quite different to the public transport we have here.
Yeah, man. It's
quite efficient.
It is very efficient. It can be overwhelming when you first get there because it's just chaos because there's people everywhere. And I think the biggest piece of advice I've given anybody that goes there for the first time is give yourself plenty of time. So when you rock up, don't just rock up at the last minute for a train that you think you're going to catch. Just get there a little bit beforehand and just like, even if you have to, just stand up against a wall somewhere and just look around you and then just take it all in because it can get overwhelming really quickly. Once you work it out and you work out the system and where the maps are and the right ticket machines and all that sort of stuff, then it's sweet, but it's, it can be really overwhelming. Like a couple of the guys that I went with in May, they'd never been to Japan at all, and they just said, I don't know how the hell we're getting around anywhere. I've got no idea where I am. I've got no idea what's going on. And even for me, it'd been a couple of years since I've been there, and it took me a couple of goes to sort of get back into the swing of things. So it's really impressive, but it won't take you long to pick it all up.
No, great.
Very cool.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries. The ESP stuff. So as you mentioned, like you've been a big fan of the brand for years, and now you're working as a representative for the Australian contingent of the brand here. How on earth does somebody become the product specialist for ESP Guitars Australia?
I always look. I get that because we do a lot of showcases. So we call it ESP on tour.
Yep.
So we'll go out to different stores. We usually spend about 12 weeks of the year, every week, traveling to different stores across the country. And that just showcases all the new models. So as soon as we get them, I think this year we got them in late Jan, early Feb, which was a really good thing for us just in terms of NAMM, the NAMM hype. And Australia, unfortunately, gets a lot of things last and a lot of things really late.
Yep.
But we're pretty lucky this year. We got a bunch of stuff early, so we did that real early. But yeah, so the one question I get from that is, how did you get this job? And it's and can I have it? And I say, no, not yet. It's not a super big secret or anything, but I worked in retail for, I think, 4 or 5 years in total at a couple of guitar shops. So that definitely helped make some contacts and know the business a bit more, know the industry. And then I pretty much worked in, I'll start that again. I worked for the company doing another job and just sort of gradually got to that position. So always having that, I guess, that dream of having that spot. So it's a matter of just, knowing some good people is always a good start, and knowing the job or the business a bit before getting into it. And wholesale is kind of like a real different game to retail, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
It's good to know that I have that retail experience, and that'll help you in the long run for the wholesale stuff, because it's just relatable, when retailers are doing it tough or they've got other reps or whatnot coming in, busting down the doors, asking for stuff. So that's always a big bonus. But just work hard and don't get what you get. Try and get what you want.
Well, I'm glad you explained it like that, because, and I guess that's where I was trying to lead with this question, because when I was growing up, and I get the same sort of thing from a lot of younger guys who are sort of just getting out of high school and they're trying to work out what they want to do, and like just a carbon copy of like myself, where it's like, oh man, I've just started playing in a band, or I've got to find some people to play in a band, and how do I play a gig, and I want to tour, I want to play a big show, I want to play with this massive metal band and everything like that. Like, how do I do it? And it's just like, you just got to just do what's in front of you right now, and just work at the thing, like the immediate thing, and keep it simple, because All that other stuff just comes in time. And exactly what you said, so many people, no doubt, that would hit you up and say, "Oh man, that sounds like the dream job. How did you?" And like, there's some sort of magic formula to get there, but it's a succession of events and things of you working in that industry for a while and working in retail and understanding music, and then cutting your teeth, doing all this stuff, and then just it's timing as well, being in the right place, right time, and an opportunity opens up, and you're equipped and experienced enough to be able to take it on and give it a shot.
Yeah, I think it's good to have, like anything, it's good to have goals and good to know what you want to do, whether it's big or small. But um, I really agree with what you said. Just working with what you've got in front of you and go from there. It's like you kind of get lost in a big dream or whatnot, and it kind of the hard work gets forgotten about.
Hmm.
And that's like anything. It's like running a band, or I don't know, wanting to be I don't know, project manager or something like that. So yeah, just like realistic goals and make sure you have the big one in mind, but just keep working at it, I guess.
With I mean, you've been in this role for a little bit now, haven't you?
Well, to be honest, like officially been a year.
Oh,
And then
congratulations.
well, thank you, sir. I did it a little bit. I guess I did it part time for about a year and a bit before that, but
Yeah,
I would say that officially a year, sort of, doing it full time.
awesome. And I mean, you got the love for the brand. You already did before you officially sort of got into this role and doing what you're doing now. And as you mentioned, you're doing these road shows. You're getting out there. You get to represent the brand and talk about it, and you get to go over to Japan. You get to interact with these people. I mean, this is stuff that a lot of fanatics, and you and I both know there are some absolute ESP nutters out there who are
Yes.
complete fanatics. I mean, I've got somebody in my band, Mark, being a massive fanatic for ESP. He's just next
Yeah.
level. Um, and people look at what you do and just go, "Man, that's incredible," and that's a dream job, and that's somebody that really gets to do something they love. And I mean, you're only a year into this, as far as officially appointed full time. But
Sure.
do you see yourself being with the brand long term? Do you see yourself working in different capacities for ESP? Do you see yourself maybe being overseas one day, working from a different office, a different segment of the brand? I mean, what's the lofty goals here?
I think that's very much like in the dream list.
Hmm.
Whether it would be with the guys in the US or the guys in Japan, I think it's a brand that's worth. Um, it's a brand worth being loyal to.
Yeah.
The company that I work with that brings in ESP is obviously something I'm loyal to. Whether it's we bring in other brands as well,
Yeah.
and that's a big job. But yeah, like a few years down the track, if someone was like, "Hey Tim, you want to come work in Japan or work in the US for however long, and you know try something out," I don't think it would take much for me to say yes.
Your arm may be twisted.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Uh,
it's
uh,
that would be killer. Absolutely, that would be so cool.
with and I won't stay on ESP for too much longer because I've got a few other things
That's
to
cool.
ask you. But
Yeah.
one thing that when I was in Japan in May and I was talking to some of the guys over there, and they were really sort of questioning me about, I guess, my perspective of the E2 range.
Yeah.
And as you would know, of course, the shifts that have been made over the last few years with the branding, and where they sit, I guess, the segments of the ESP brand.
Yeah.
Um, how do you think it's going in Australia from an E2 perspective? And I think that from my point of view, I see that there's still a lot of growth there, and I think there's a lot of awareness that still needs to be sort of put out there where people are still trying to get used to another brand underneath that ESP logo.
Hmm.
But what's happening from an E2 point of view in Australia?
I think it's in Australia, especially. It's definitely gotten stronger over the past couple of years. That's with conjunction of what the guys in Japan are doing with new finishes
Mm,
and new models and whatnot. Especially this year, I believe that it's really strong this year. They've got a couple of M2s and Horizons and different finishes that it was kind of like you just paint it black and that'll be an easy seller. That's how I sort of saw it anyway. There was there is still some teething stuff going on that I think, just finding the feet of that sort of that headstock logo.
Yeah.
But I think it's really strong at the moment, and I think it's probably only going to get better from here. Yeah, we're like for Australia, we're doing limited runs, so we do our own models. We spec them out from the office and email Makoto and say, what do you think of these, and sort of go from there. We'll order a limited, whether it's 8 or 10 pieces, and that'll be just for the Australian market, which is really cool. And that kind of solidified, I think, the brand a little bit more for the Australian market at least, because that just gives everyone something a little bit different, and we get to be a kid in a candy store and spec guitars that we want personally.
It's a pretty good opportunity, like, because you're a part of like this next wave of the brand, and like, you know, a lot of other people wouldn't have this opportunity to be able to, I guess, be this close to the brand and be able to create, I guess, you know, some offshoots of the E2 models. You know, because there's so much of a push to try and, you know, put this brand into the market, that I guess there's a lot more flexibility to try a few different things and experiment just to see what works and what doesn't. So it's a pretty cool time.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's I'm super grateful to have the opportunity to say, hey, like, do you want your own model? Spec it out and we'll be able to sell it. So it's a very good opportunity, and it's a very good time to be able to try different things out and really find things that the market, you know, whether they're younger kids playing more progressive modern metal, or the classic guys doing their thing where sort of the brand started. We'll keep making models until someone tells us to shut up, basically, but until someone tells us not to, or people stop buying it. But we'll try to cater for as many players as we can. We'll just keep going until the wave goes flat, I guess.
Do you get do you still get a lot of interest from musicians in the country for local endorsements? Absolutely.
And that is like, it's something that so ESP Australia is somewhat of a two-man team. So we've got a product manager and a product specialist. And we basically put endorsements on a little bit on the back burner, just because there was some sort of restructuring when I got into the job, and when the other guy got into the job, we had to sort of find our feet and not start from scratch, but sort of do things a way that would be more like most efficient. And endorsements, unfortunately, especially for a wholesaler, is maybe a little bit more of a luxury.
Yeah.
Where you've got, like, let's say the guys in Japan and the US who have got an endorsement department and have one guy or a couple of guys sort of looking after that. So that is actually something probably worth mentioning here, is that pretty soon we'll start opening up applications again, and that'll be on the Facebook, and we'll just sort of let everyone fill a form out and send it over and help in any way we can. But we want to get a lot of good players. There's heaps of players who play ESP now, which are really great and probably, you know, deserve to have the name on there. So just can't wait to find the time, and we'll get a bunch of people to start repping the brand for Australia again.
Oh, it's good. And I mean, it's one of those things, and probably actually might be another good opportunity here to maybe dispel some myths around endorsements, because
sure,
there's a lot of people out there that don't have an endorsement, or people that have been actively looking for endorsements that probably don't quite understand what's entailed. Or there's, as you probably have seen, there's many people out there that do the absolute wrong thing when it comes to endorsements, and maybe there's certain people out there that jump between brands whenever the wind changes as well. But I mean, when you do get to that point where you open up those applications again, what sort of things what sort of things to any brand, but I mean, whether that's something specific for ESP, but what sort of things would you be looking for somebody to be successful and represent the brand in that capacity?
For me, look, I look at it in a way as having some, not loyalty, but some appreciation to the brand first and foremost is a good thing. Like you said, having a guy jumping around different companies and whatnot is quite noticeable and is very obvious to, you know, the listener of that guy. or band or girl or whoever. I think that's probably like something to consider, whether they're jumping or not, or there's something they're really passionate about the brand. That's probably one of the first things that I'd look at, because we want a relationship. It's not just have a free guitar or have a guitar at a discounted price and there you go. There's got to be a back and forth for it, and they're going to want the guitar and not just have the endorsement for the name. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously, it's good to be in a working band, or it's good to be a solo guy. Like, it doesn't matter whether you're in a band or you're in your bedroom. If you're attracting people, attracting players, inspiring them to pick up a particular guitar that they play, that is obviously a big thing. These days, it's very much like you can be a solo guy writing in your bedroom and playing stuff on YouTube or whatnot, or on your Facebook, and that's a plausible thing now, which I think is kind of cool. I think a few years ago it wasn't like that. You had to be in a band and you had to be playing to a certain amount of shows, and you had to be out in the public for a certain amount of time. But I think that's kind of changed. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, but like the online thing is something we need to embrace. There's a couple of players that I look out there who are crazy players, and they don't have a band behind them, and they're sort of just doing some solo stuff. But that would be a guy I would consider, because he's getting some decent views, but he's got some chops on him. He's a great player and can really get out there to players who will be intrigued of the type of guitar he's using. So I wouldn't narrow it down to you have to be in a band. You can be at whatever level, at whatever at a level. I mean, in terms of a public eye, whether you're in a band or by yourself or in your bedroom per se. So.
Well,
I don't know if that answered your question at all, but
well, I guess a lot of people take it for granted, and I guess that's where I was sort of starting that question. But you took it in a different direction, which is a great segue as well, because I'm going to pick your brain about your YouTube channel. But I think a lot of people have taken endorsements for granted, and I use the example of people jumping between brands and I guess taking advantage of certain offers, and then when they get tired of it, they'll move over to somebody else. And you nailed it on the head. It's noticeable, and it's noticeable in a number of different ways, and it could be sonically, like just hearing those changes all the time, or it could just be the case that just word gets around really quickly as well. So the longevity of a player and their profile and their reputation doesn't stand, and won't stick around for long if they're thinking short term, just trying to take advantage of opportunities and keep moving on. So if people are able to demonstrate that it's a two-way street, and yes, there's definitely great opportunities available, but it's what can you bring to the party, what value can you bring to the brand to help the awareness. And I think a lot of guys for quite some time used to always think, well, I play in a band, so I play every once in a while, and my mates think I'm pretty cool. So I think, I reckon an endorsement would be pretty sweet, and I'll take a couple of photos and chuck them online, and that's about it. And if your band's good enough and you get enough exposure, then that might get you over the line. But I think there's a lot more to it now than there ever has before. And what you said about online and being a solo player, someone who just bases themselves out of their home, out of their bedroom, absolutely. I mean, we're in the world of influencers, and the amount of attention that people are drawing online is incredible. And if anything, in some cases, some of these guys that have got their own little home setup and are doing YouTube videos are pulling more people than a lot of other musicians out there who've been repping the brand for a number of years. So it's natural that any brand would be keeping their eyes out on a number of different platforms to see who's out there, repping not just on stage, but elsewhere.
Yeah. Look, I think endorsements, they are a weird smoke and mirror thing, but I think it's like as easy as if you're in a band that is, and I didn't want to go out of my way to sound uptight or anything, but yeah, you do need an audience, and that's what brands are looking for. You can't just rely on, a couple of photos your mate took, and then what you said about your mates thinking you're cool, like that. There is a few of them, and that's probably like regular emails I get. and it's hard to sort of say, hey, well, you kind of, there's like nothing here for us. And it can kind of get a little brutal like that. But I think presenting yourself in a professional way, if you play well and you're in a decent band or in a decent position where you're getting an audience, they're the first couple steps. And then obviously having a relationship or a friendship is a great thing, because we want to be able to get along with the people we work with, and we want to be able to work together, not just be a one-sided thing. And I think having a good loyalty to the brand, not loyalty, but just having a good appreciation of the brand is a big thing for me, because it's definitely not something to take for granted. And I would hate for someone to be endorsed by a brand and then get over it in a month or 6 weeks or whatever, because they found a better deal or whatnot, or they get a discounted guitar and they try to sell it the next 2 weeks. It's just not something that gives me the good vibes, so we'll take it as it comes. But in saying that, everyone's welcome, and then if we can't facilitate, then it's not an end to the deal. We always just sort of keep a track on things and make sure we have our eyes on everything we can.
Yeah, for sure, man. And it's I've heard a few people talking about it recently, and just there's been a few guys out there that have been helping with, I guess, educating some of our newer guys on the scene, and people are picking up guitars and having these, and going back to what we were saying before, people that have these big dreams about what they want and where they see themselves down the track, and not understanding all the steps in between. So you go from 0 to 100 straight away and say, well, I want this, so let's, why can't I just get it now? And it's like, well, it's nice that you're enthusiastic, but there's a few things that you got to do beforehand. So it's good to hear that. And I think, the way that you came across with that is not, it's not high and mighty or anything like that. And I think you have to be pretty cut and dry with it. You have to be pretty factual and blunt and say, look, it is a business, and it's a brand, and ultimately the big goal is that you want more people to see the brand and see the brand represented in an appropriate way that actually attracts people, and people get excited and want to be a part of that brand in a number of different ways. So you want the right people out there that are representing the name, and so you have to be somewhat selective, and as you said, anybody can get in touch, and that's great, but people have to be prepared to put a bit of a pitch on the table to say, look, this is who I am, and this is what I've done, and this is what I'm doing, and where I plan to go, and then we go from there.
When did you feel personally, just like yourself, when did you feel like you were ready to be an endorsed artist?
Yeah, good question. I got pretty lucky because I joined a band that was established and had legacy already. So,
sure.
Having the band as Dungeon, and I came in at the tail end of Dungeon at the end of 2005. There was legacy and reputation there already, and it wasn't until, what was it? It must have been 2007. It must have been 2007, yeah. Where I was already playing in LTD at the time. It was like what was it? It was like a B105 or something like that. And and so anyway, Mark had joined the band, and he had a relationship with Shane over in Adelaide, and sort of progressed from there. And then we sort of hooked up with Ando and CMI guys, and so the relationship sort of formed off that, and then the opportunity came up for ESP, and I was already playing it. Mark was a big ESP fan already, very similar to you, as in the sense that he's been a long time fan of the brand, and then obviously different types of opportunities have opened up since then for him. But I think it was sort of like this natural progression from there, going, well, we're doing good things at the moment. We're touring, we're playing some great shows. We've got some momentum already behind us, and we're fortunate for that. And we've got a number of plans and overseas stuff and albums that have come out, and video clips that are starting to come out as well. So let's tick this off the list as well, so we can tie it all together and correctly represent everything in the right way. And Shane was really good, and he's still great with us, and he's sort of really helped a lot of that stuff happen and ensure that I guess we're doing the right thing as well. I think that's, I think he's sort of set the standard with expectations, and he's been just, I think he leads the way with a lot of things where a lot of people get schooled by him, and in a great way. And we've been really lucky to have him sort of as a support for us as a band for so many years. And as a result, Tim, in our band, he was using this trademark signature custom guitar, this Fry guitar that was this crazy shape, and it was part of his identity for a couple of decades. And he was converted, and he went over and he started playing ESP, and he's been, I don't know how many years he's been with ESP now, but he's probably 7 or 8, probably getting closer to a decade now, and it's just incredible. So
great.
It just goes to show, I guess, the power of influence. But I guess that's where we kind of worked it out. But I mean, it was a bit different for me, and I've got, I guess, a bit of a unique story because I came in on a train that was already moving. So I was fortunate to be able to say, well, these things are already moving in the right direction. So how can I take advantage of this and really sort of make the most of it and go from there? So, but I guess I've used my experience to sort of help a few friends along the way, and sort of position them in a way that puts them in better consideration, and give them some tips. And even just like, as you said, endorsements can be a bit of a smoke and mirrors sort of concept. But, part of that is general band stuff, and as you know, playing in a band, the music counts, of course, it's the point of difference, but you've got to rope people in to begin with. And a lot of that is how you're represented, your aesthetics, how you're promoted, you're marketed. And, if you've got a crap logo, or your band shots are rubbish, or you don't have anything online whatsoever, and there's just no presence and no information whatsoever, then how do you convince anybody that you're taking it seriously? So, you have to get a lot of people to go back to square one in a way, and start cleaning everything up and getting everything up to a standard that they can go in and pitch an idea, and people to be able to go and do their research and see that these people are well represented and they're representing themselves in the right way. And then at least you're poised for further discussions after that. But some people think that they can get everything straight away, and they haven't done anything to publicly represent themselves at all. So there's a lot
I think
of stuff
that might be the naivety of some people though as well. Like, I think it's quite innocent in some cases.
Yeah, definitely.
Just going, oh, this guy's got this, I can probably do it. It's like, well, no, but like not in all cases, but but it's a matter of making the contact first for us, and making sure you've got something to offer, and it all looks good, presentable, like you said, and sort of go from there.
Definitely. Well, what you said before, and good segue with your YouTube channel. So I spent the last couple of weeks having a look at a few random videos here and there on your channel, and look out, here we go. here comes Andy the critic. No, look, first impressions was, wow, you've got a high standard of quality.
Thank you.
The editing, the way that your videos are represented, the way that even the way you're not sort of visible in all of your videos, but when you are, you're presenting yourself in a way that's professional, and it's really sort of it's accessible. It's easy for people to just listen and pay attention to what's going on. And I think a lot of people brush over that sort of stuff, and that's why people don't pay attention, and some videos do better than others. Do you have experience in video editing? Have you got a background in this sort of stuff, or has it been a bit of a DIY project for you?
No, well, first of all, thank you for the compliments. That means a lot. I like that. But no, look, I think it's just something that was like a hobby at the start, and this was before like the product specialist job as well, which really sort of helped getting into that as well, was sort of learning the tricks of videos and all that sort of stuff. It wasn't something that like I've studied or really looked up at all. It was just, I'm really OCD. I'm a neat freak in all different ways. So I think just knowing, like, having the concept of a video that was like in my head before even editing it, before even filming it, that was a really good thing. Just knowing what I wanted to do and then figuring it out from there. it's still like I still use iMovie. It's super bare bones. It's like there's not a lot of, it's not really intricate in any way. I'd love to get into it more, and I think that's probably something I'll do down the track. Maybe, you know, I'll obviously get some better software and learn the tricks of that, and getting the editing reel down a lot more professional. But I think for what I do, it's this pretty sort of just sort of play and here's what it is, and that's you know, it is what it is type deal. But yeah, there's no background in it. It's just seeing how I go, and if I mess something up, then oh well.
Yeah, I think it's really cool, and I mean, I've got no video editing background personally, and I know that a lot of friends of mine would probably, you know, see straight away, oh, you know, you'd be using iMovie, but I wouldn't have a freaking clue. I've got no idea, so I just go, yeah, it looks cool, looks pretty pro, and so, but I mean, that's half the battle, you know, and you're not out there to, you know, win over all the pros, so to speak. You're creating content that, you know, the majority of people can just tune in and watch without having to think or be distracted by bad quality or bad editing or anything like that. And what you're putting, like the content itself for your videos, is interesting as well. So, and you're
Cool.
targeting a segment or a market of people that obviously have an interest in gear and guitars and things like that. So, and there's definitely plenty of opportunities in that market for that type of stuff. And
Yeah.
I mean, for me, like, you know, I've tried like the vlogging sort of stuff, and I've got the attention span of like a goldfish. I just can't sit still for long enough to do things. And I think that's why I've done a podcast, because I can just ramble on and not really have to think about anything, and then I send it to somebody else to edit.
Yeah, right.
But like doing a little bit of it myself, and as crap as my stuff is, I've certainly developed a bit of an eye just to see and appreciate what other people do.
Yeah.
And it's cool, and I can see also the potential in creating content in that way as well. So going back to what you said about, you know, what potentially brands are looking for with, you know, people online and these influencers having an online audience. I mean, what you're doing from a gear point of view and doing these reviews on your YouTube channel and I think you've mentioned in some of your videos doing other stuff down the track and building up this channel. I mean, you're branding yourself, and you become potentially this key person of influence in, you know, this market, you know. And so when people think of particular products or think about people that know their shit, then, you know, you become one of those people that they gravitate towards or they refer to, and you're definitely representing yourself in that way. I think it's really interesting.
Cool.
I'm quite passionate about this sort of stuff, because I think a lot of people still aren't jumping on the bandwagon, and I think people aren't understanding the potential of taking the plunge and putting their mug in front of the camera. And I certainly struggle with it, but it's I think there's a lot of potential there. I think it's really cool, man.
Thank you. I wish if anything, the thing that's defeating me is time. Like, I wish I could do a video a week, even, you know. I'm trying to do a video a month, and I'm already behind on that. So it's at this stage, I go in rotations. When the band stuff gets a little quieter or something like that, I'll do more videos, and then when the band's quite busy and I've got, you know, work and obviously life and whatnot gets in the way, then that stuff gets on the back burner. So no, I appreciate it, man. I hope I can get some more time to grow it and do some different things. And I'm in no way, like, it takes me a few times to even get in front of a camera and talk. So that's why a lot of it, it's just my face is completely cut off. It's just, so like, I wish I could make the videos more longer and informative. And a lot of people are asking, like, you know, your opinion would be good, you know, in the video, rather than, because I like reply to all the comments and all that. And I think that's why I did it the most, was to sort of just another community and a way of just talking gear and just nerding out. And I like all that stuff. That's just something that I'm interested in and want to talk about. But yeah, it's just, as soon as maybe I get some more confidence and being able to talk quite comfortably in front of a camera, I'll definitely, you know, grow it as much as I possibly can. But I appreciate, like, you see there's potential there for it to get bigger, or for it to further grow. I'd love it.
Yeah,
I'd love
man.
it for that to happen.
It's look, you've got the foundation there. Like, something exists. You've got content that's already there, and
Yeah,
you know, you can always tweak and adjust and add and change things as you go. Like, there's no rules. I mean, you create the rules, and you can feed off that feedback that you get from people, and you can make the adjustments accordingly, or you can just ignore it all and just keep doing what you're doing. But you know, there's a liberty to it that you're directly impacting what's being put out there, and I think that's really cool. And you're doing it in a way that's very, it's just easy to digest as well. And so, you know, one thing that I've learned with doing this podcast is that I'm not crash hot at it, but I've managed to just sort of just keep doing it. And I think I had to go back and listen to some old episodes a while back, and I just cringed at the first ones. I went, oh my God, like I was losing. I was getting a headache just hearing my voice. It was just shocking. And I don't think I'm dramatically better, but I'm definitely better compared to where I was. But
man, I relate to that so well. Like,
yeah,
like that's way, that's very relatable.
yeah. But you see a little bit of progress along the way. I think that makes a massive difference. And
Yeah.
you can always refine things as you go. I can't remember where I was going with this, but you can refine things as you go, and you can improve on things. And I think the consistency of doing something makes a big difference. And the point that I was trying to make that just came back into my head is what I've started to do now is do a lot of batch recordings. So,
Yeah.
you know, out of necessity over the last month, I've just ramped it up. I've just gone so hard that I've almost been at the point of breaking down and having a crisis. But the guy who does my editing, TY, he's going overseas for almost 2 months. So he gave me warning like 6 months ago and said, look, this period of time I'm not going to be around, so I can't edit your podcast. I'm like, yeah, no dramas. And then about a month out, I thought, oh shit, I haven't done anything. So
Yeah. Right.
but now, as of today and tomorrow, I'll have everything sorted up until you know, sort of the start of October, and
Wow.
and I'll be sweet, and it'll be really good. So, but now I can see, and I've done little versions of this in the past, but it makes so much of a difference because now I know that after probably tomorrow or Saturday, that I've now got, you know, 6 to 8 weeks where I can start churning out other stuff in the meantime. And I'll still keep recording episodes so I can keep that buffer there, but I'm able to sort of get a few other things done as well. So the video stuff's hard because I can relate to it from a podcast point of view. If I was going week to week, you know, or even when I've got another one that I do, and I do it fortnightly, and I used to think, oh yeah, man, fortnightly is such a breeze. But then it'd be like a few days before that podcast is due, and I haven't got an episode recorded. I'm shitting myself and going, oh man, what do I do? And then I miss one, and then you lose momentum. So the video stuff I can definitely relate to, and if you can find a rhythm, or you can just time block, you know, a few days where you just, you know, you storyboard all your videos and you work it all out, and then just do this massive recording session and just have it all there. And you can, even if you edit later on, you've just got all the raw content, then you've got something, just takes the pressure off. But I think you're on a good thing, man. I think there's there's a lot of potential there, and you've got it. As I said before, it exists. It's not just an idea that, you know, oh, one day I'll do it. You've made a start on it. There's something there. You've got subscribers there. You've got some attention already, and you just build off it. You just keep going.
Yeah, thanks, man. I think like that's the lesson that I got from you just then was like, just do it. You know, I think that quote might have been used before. That slogan might have been used before.
I think I've heard it before.
But yeah, but that's the thing. It's just sometimes I'll just not think of excuses, but like, and this is the OCD thing coming back to me. It's like, well, I rely on natural light for the video, and I got 3 other housemates that I don't want to annoy with a loud amp or whatnot. So I'm finding ways to make it a little bit easier on myself and a little bit easier on everyone who lives in the house or lives in the street. So I'm not annoying everyone, but I think, yeah, just got to do it. And the consistency is key. And that'll, once you get in that rhythm, and I think that'll just make yourself do it, and you won't think about it or second guess it. So, and I think it's cool, like, progressing and seeing that progression.
Yeah.
Like when I started the YouTube thing, again, it's still a hobby. Like I'm not looking to be the next big guy or whatever. It's just a place where people can check out some videos and we can chat about gear, and yeah, it would be great to for it to grow, but you know, it is what it is. But now I've totally forgotten my point. But yeah, I've actually totally forgotten what I was about to say.
But it becomes I mean, regardless of
I know what I was going to say.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
no,
sorry.
go.
Oh no, it was just the consistency thing, and the human element of seeing your own progression.
Yeah.
Because doing it and just leaving it as it is sometimes a good thing, because then the next video will be a lot better, or the next podcast will be a lot better, the next song will be a lot better. So sometimes just putting it to paper, or putting it, upload it and just see how it goes is a really cool thing. And it's a big mental game for me, for sure, because it's like I hardly do anything or show anyone anything unless I've done it right.
Unless you've scrutinized it and done several versions of it and reviewed and
absolutely.
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It drives me nuts, but like I think that's just a personality trait I've got from my parents. I think, I'm not sure, but
yeah. And I mean, look, it's not an unusual thing. I think a lot of people like that, and probably the difference and the advantage that you've got is that you've pushed through a lot of that and actually put things out there, whereas a lot of people would never even get to that point where they find a moment where they think that it's good enough to put it out there. And so there's probably heaps of things that are half recorded or half started and just never finished because there wasn't enough confidence in what they were doing to put it out there and just see what happens. And, you know, like, I think a lot of people, like for me, when I watch other people's content or I listen to stuff, whether it be music or podcasts or anything, to see that progression as a viewer, makes it so much more personable. You connect more with that person because you can see them growing. You can see them like getting better at things. And then suddenly, like, there's a new, like, you know, talking about video, suddenly you see like there's a new type of edit or the new type of, like, you know, effect or something they're doing, and you go, oh, that's cool. And then you just notice the little difference, and you can see as the viewer the progression there as well. And I'm sure it'd be like music, you know, you'll probably get somebody one day, they'll be like, yeah, look, I really like what he's doing these days. It's pretty slick and cool, but I liked it when it was raw and he didn't have his head in the shots, you know, and he never talked. I think that was like, it was so much more raw and honest back then. That's my style, you know, and it'll always be somebody like that. But I think it's cool, man. I think as long as you're genuine, and I've crapped on about this so much on my podcast, but I think if you're genuine and you just do something that you love, it doesn't matter how rough around the edges it is, how crap it is to begin with. You put it out there and it's yourself, and you just you put that element of vulnerability out there. I think a lot of people connect with it, and you'll find new momentum in time, and people will gravitate towards it. It becomes a magnet because people can find themselves in what you're doing, because I think we all go through the same sort of hurdles and things that hold us back. And I think half the time we're too worried to admit it to each other. So when somebody actually takes that step and goes, oh guys, all right, I'm putting it out there, then, you know, a lot of people will praise it.
I think it's cool, like spot on what you said about the progression being personable.
Yep.
Relatable. Like, you know, before I even thought about doing any videos or, you know, was just being in the job I'm in, I remember watching gear videos, like Ola England, for example. He's huge now. I remember watching him back a few years ago, and he just had his face cut off and he was just playing some tracks. And when that channel got like bigger and bigger, it was just like a fist in the air moment. Like, yeah, that's sick. Like, like he did that and he spent his time on that, and I think that's inspiring for, well, no matter what you're in, but it's inspiring to see people kill it and just make an effort and do what they do honestly.
Well, that's his story, isn't it? Like he's not telling you the story, but he's showing you the story of the progression of what he's doing, the effort that he's putting in, and he doesn't even have to spell it out. You can see it happening. So there's a story being created. And so when you're honest and you just do your thing and you do what you love and you work on it, then it becomes a story. It's got chapters along the way, and people follow the story and become passionate about what you're doing. And that's why people become advocates or become loyal or become fans of something, because they can relate to it in some way, one way or the other. Yeah. So it's pretty cool, man. Like it's I could crap on about that so much because I'm so into it, and I see so many people with great ideas that just do not execute on it,
Right.
and half the time I have a million ideas that sit in a notebook and I never quite get to them. So when I do see other people making things happen, then you go, wow, that's cool, and it gets you fired up, and you start
Yeah.
thinking, all right, what are some of those ideas I've been putting off? Maybe I should get a few of these other things up and running. So that's good, man.
Absolutely.
So Primitive, I've got to ask you a question. So this EP that you put out last year,
Yeah.
the band's only been out for about, like, up and running for about what, probably a year and a half to 2 years now.
Um, I cheat. I say we've been active for about hold on. What are we in now? 2018, 2016, 20. I think it was 2016 where we had 2 gigs, and then 2017 we sort of started. 2017, I'd say, is where we were an active band. We played 1 gig. Our first gig was at the Bendy Hotel, opening for Espionage's EP launch.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And straight after that, our guitarist Frank dislocated his shoulder in Japan snowing or snowboarding. And then we were out for that was in August. They were out for
I don't know why
3
I
or
laughed then. Sorry, by the way.
no,
It
it's fine.
was so bad.
No. It's a laughable thing. No, because I think we were all like, yeah, sweet. And then he's just like, I've got shoulder surgery. No. But no, we love him. He'd be laughing next to me if he was sitting next to me right now. So yeah, that happened. The first gig was in August, and then we didn't play obviously for, I think it was like 4 months or something. And then we played, I think it was November. We played a show just at the Brunny. That was our second show, and then we didn't play again until 2017. I'd say like June or something like that. So it was a pretty a slow burn. It wasn't straight into it, but I'd say actively from 2017. And then just have sort of been as busy as possible up until this point.
So, I mean, I've heard your EP, and I guess one initial comment is Black Blood is like riff City Central. Like
Yep.
that opening riff is just so fucking good, man. Like really, really good. But I mean, I thought, oh man, why does this sound really good? Like who the hell's put this together? Then I saw Chris's name there, and I thought, okay, now that makes sense. So
that's the guy.
He knows his stuff. But how long have these songs been around for? Was the concept of the band there before 2016, or did it all sort of come about sort of around that time? I mean, I guess maybe I'm showing my age a bit more now, and I'm being a little bit fuddy-duddy about it, because it used to take so long for a band to find their feet and get up and running, cut their chops, get songs together. Then there'd be a demo, and then there'd be like the EP, but then it would take ages for anybody to do anything. And I guess now, because technology's a lot it's so much easier to record stuff. The quality's better, the gear's more accessible. But man, like the songwriting's really good. Like the quality of the music's really good. So
Thank you.
yeah, how much of this was in the works, or how much of it was just, well, it all just sort of worked out?
We had a couple of songs, or a few songs at the start of, I want to say 20, or maybe like mid 2015 or something like that, late 2015, early 16 or something like that. And then we started writing those 4 songs, and then me being, the other boys they give me a hard time now about it. I'm like, we got to scrap these other songs because they're not good. In my opinion, I was just like, they're not good enough. There was some great bits in there, but like these songs here that we really have put more effort into, like just Day and Night. And that's, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just like super OCD. I'm like, nah, boys, like just trust me. Like, let's just work on these 4 songs and see how that goes. So there were a few songs before, or a couple of songs before these ones, but these were the sort of the ones, they came kind of naturally. Riff wise, it's kind of 50-50, me and Frankie. So Frank's all Black Blood, that's all him.
Yeah.
In terms of riffs and whatnot. But pretty much arrangement, I think, was all there too. He's just like, yeah, I got the song, and then that was pretty much it. But yeah, those songs have been around for a little bit, and I think we're getting to the point where we're like, all right, we've probably played these songs enough, and it's time to, write for another release or something like that. So we've got a couple more in the bank that we're that we'll work on. Hopefully it won't take too long, but knowing me, it probably will.
Well, I
I
mean,
don't know.
I don't know. I mean, you put out this EP, and yeah, it's okay. It's 4 songs, but you know, as I said, like over the years, it just for a lot of bands, it takes a long time for people to do anything. And maybe you guys had
Yeah.
the luxury of you know, having a snowboarding injury and having a bit of time away that was better focused in, you know, refining and getting songs together. So it might have
Yeah.
worked out that way for you guys. But it was cool. It was really impressive. And I've got to say, and
Thank
this
you.
is going to be my next, you know, I've noticed this in the last couple of weeks. I've been saying a lot of old man stuff, and I've always seen myself as like, I've always been the youngest person. Every time I'm hanging out with people, I'm always like one of the youngest people around. But I've noticed in the last couple of weeks, I've started making statements, and I'm just going, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah.
And so, you
I'm
know,
ready.
I forget how old I am as well. So I keep thinking I'm like 31 and I'm 34 now, and so I've got no idea what's going on. Anyway, I digress. So I read, fuck, I don't know where it might have been on your Facebook page or might have been on your Bandcamp page. I can't remember, but you had like influenced by early 2000s American metal, and
Yeah.
and you'll have to like just bear with me for a moment here because I laughed initially and I went, "What's 2000s American metal? It sounds so modern." And then I realized that, well, the year 2000 was 18 freaking years ago. Like it was almost 2 decades ago, and I still think that it's probably like, I don't know, 2002 at the moment. I've got no idea. I'm like stuck in the past because I guess in comparison, with my band and a lot of the stuff that, you know, I guess people I know listen to, it's always like 80s inspired, 80s metal and things like that. And it's always like, you know, an era that was so far back. And now like, you know, the 2000s now, you know, that began 18 years ago. So
Yeah.
when you guys referred to it like that, it was almost like this era of metal, and I just thought, what is that? And then
Yeah.
I sort of looked into it and I realized, well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing like bands like what, Trivium, Mastodon, probably.
Hmm.
I don't know who else would be. What other bands would be around from that era? I mean, yeah. Sorry, just please interrupt me. I'm waffling
No, that's
on.
cool. It's fine. Well, first, before I get onto that, I just want to say when you mentioned Chris, and Chris did an amazing job, and he's been very supportive of this band, and he's been a really great friend. Like we've sort of grown a friendship when we started tracking this EP, or when we tracked the EP.
Mm.
So just big shout out to that guy because like he's the number one. He's like a number one dude. Like he's a legend. Anyway, and he knows what he's doing. So
Shout out to Chris.
exactly. But in terms of, yeah, look, I think I just didn't know what to write in terms of, like, if there was a particular, you know, like new wave British heavy metal,
Yeah,
for example. I don't know if there was, I think there's a new wave of American heavy metal, but I assimilate that sort of title to the Lamb of Gods, Machine Heads,
Yeah.
Triviums, Mastodon, as you said. Gojira came a little bit later as like a later discovery. But those probably 5 bands were the main like things we were listening to, or the things that we grew up with. Like the guitarist Frank, the drummer Barnsey, and myself all went to school together, and we played music together since we were young, or 14, something like that.
Mm.
So there's always been a connection there of like the same music and just the connection of playing together. And then Flynn, who's our bass player, is Barnsley's brother, and he came in later when we started to, you know, get some gigs together. So it's a tight knit group of some dudes who just listen to the same stuff and wanted that sort of sound, I guess. We all have our individual influences, which I think is probably coming out a little bit more in newer stuff. But yeah, like I can't think of any other bands, to be honest. I think those 5 were probably the main ones the 4 of us or 3 of us were collectively listening to when writing those songs.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely got it when I saw the way that you guys had written it, but I think it just shocked me because I just sort of thought, like, I can't believe.
2000s.
Well, yeah, and I kind of just thought, oh, there's like this era of music that like it's being referred to where, I don't know, it just seems so recent. But then I sort of had to check myself and go, well, no, mate, like you're almost 2 decades away from the year 2000 now. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. I guess time moves way too quickly. But when I saw that, and then I was listening to a lot of the stuff, I could hear some of these bands, and I could definitely understand like what, I guess, some of the, I can't even say modern, because it's like freaking 18 years ago when the 2000s kicked in. I
Yeah.
just can't get this out of my head. But I mean, I know what that American metal is. Like, I know that type of playing, and I don't know. I keep thinking of like, yeah, I keep thinking of like, Matt from Trivium and a lot of these guys, and it's just and I can hear like elements of that in what you guys are doing as well, and the quality's there as well, which also helps. And I think going back to Chris, and Chris is getting all the props, and I'll have to get him on the podcast sometime down the track, but he's got an ear for this stuff as well. Like, and I think he's got an appreciation for a lot of this music, so he knows exactly how to get the most out of a band that has that sort of sound. So, I mean, that's, once again, like, as I said before, when I was listening to it, I thought, oh, who the hell's, recorded this and engineered it and all this, and sort of looked and went, oh, well, that makes sense. And Chris has got a track record. So, it's good, man. And, I think you guys have done pretty good in a short space of time.
Thanks, man. Yeah, like Chris did a great job putting up with me. Like, I think for now I've told you that I'm OCD and fussy and a neat freak and just all that sort of stuff. So he had to put up with me going like, no, this is what it is, all that sort of stuff. And then he added some stuff that, I didn't think of that sort of thing, he knew exactly what our influences were. He dug, from what I know, he digs the songs. And it was a great working relationship. Because we just wanted the same thing.
Yeah.
He knew what the riffs were about, and he knew a certain aggression in the vocals or whatever. He just knew what he wanted, or what we wanted, or and that obviously turned out to a decent sounding EP. So we're very, very happy with it, and I think he is too. He does message me every once in a while and say, "Hey, man, that's a great EP." Yeah, thanks, man.
There you go. When he likes it, you're on a good thing. That's
doing
good.
something half right. Yeah.
So you got the show with Psychroptic. By the time everyone listens to us, have this chinwag. Great show. Yep, fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Well done, Tim. And then you're off to Japan. You're going to do some shows over there.
Yeah.
What happens after that? You mentioned you got some other songs in the works. You're writing some stuff, but I guess what's the next 12 months look like for the band and beyond?
It's something that I've been asking myself many times in the past sort of couple of months, because I always like to plan as forward as I can. Probably more so than like bookers or promoters or whatever even think it like that. They probably don't even think about the months that I'm requesting for gigs and whatnot. So I guess for our last show, what I think will be our last show for the year, we'll be playing the Amped Festival. So Higo's do at the Cherry Bar.
Shout out Higo.
Yeah, so he'll be doing that, and that's super cool that for us to be on it. I think we're on sort of like a late Arvo slot, which is like the first time we've done something like that.
Cool.
So like sort of bit of a day sesh for the boys. That'll be, from what I know now, that'll be the last show of the year. And then the main goal is probably a next release. 6 tracks maybe.
Yep.
And then there's like another EP or something like that, a long EP, LEP. And then, just sort of figure it out from there, I guess. We'll get on as many gigs as we can, or many shows as we can, and then just take it as it comes. But the writing's probably the big part for the next few months, I think.
Yeah.
I really want to do like an Australia. Like we've played a Canberra show, but we've never played Sydney or Brisbane or Perth or Adelaide. So I'd really love to do like an Australian run with a band. But we'll see how that goes. Whatever pops up, and I'll be sending thousands of emails.
Well, that's it, man. That's the hustle of it all, and it's cool, man. I think it's great that you've got the advantage that you've got a product already there, so you've got something that you can shop around to the extent that people can see that you are doing something. You're not just a band that's got, a bunch of guys together and you play some shows and no one knows like how good you are.
Yeah.
There's stuff out there. You got some presence, and you got a video as well, so people can visualize and see what you guys are all about. You can hear this quality music as well. So it's just a case of just hooking up with the right people and going from there. But I love that kind of stuff. I love the mechanics behind it. I love that grind and that hustle and working and chipping away at things and just trial and error. And that was some of the best times of our band was our transition of changing names and coming in and almost, I mean, we had, as I said before, we had the momentum there, but we had to convince people as well with a name change, and a name that was quite questionable for a lot of people, where we had to convince people that we weren't a lighter version of what we were, and we were still the same band, and just a lot of different things. And so it was this great experiment. It was fantastic, and you had to get out there on the road and play shows. You had to sort of build your network up and mend prior broken relationships with other bands and all sorts of like weird and wonderful things along the way. And I think I could write a book just for the first 1 to 2 years of Lord, after changing the name from Dungeon to Lord, because there was just so much stuff involved in that. It was just so much fun because you just you kind of didn't know what you were doing. You were just trying things out. That didn't work, don't do that again. Or that worked, we got lucky, and you just kept going and you build and build and build after that. But when just to hear you doing that sort of stuff now and be in the position where you've got a product and it's a quality product and you guys are doing good things, it's exciting, man. It's really exciting.
Yeah, I think that goes back to the small goal list.
Yeah,
like it's the way I look at the band is, I'm not looking for opening for Metallica or something extravagant like that. It would be great, but that's not what I have in mind. That's not what the path is in front of me. It's finding goals that are somewhat easily achieved or will take some time, but that's what's led, I don't know, some sort of progression to the band, and that's just releasing an EP and playing a few shows that we haven't thought of where we'd want to play, or playing with bands that we've always wanted to play with, and we got a lot of local heroes that we want to play a few shows with. So that sort of stuff, I think, really builds you up for bigger things in the long run. I think so anyway. Like, I didn't think we were going to play with Psychroptic. Playing with Psychroptic is a huge deal for me. Like, they're absolute legends in my eyes. I love all the work that they've done. But yeah, I didn't think it was going to happen within the year, this year or whatever, something like that. But it's just, I think all those small tasks led to something like that, and I think it'll only, keep your foot on the pedal, and it'll only get better, I guess.
You're on the money, man. And all the other work that you do on the side with whether it be all your retail work and working with ESP now, and doing your YouTube stuff, there's other things that you bring to the table as well that will position you and the rest of the guys in a good spot in the future as well. So and as the repeating theme that keeps coming back, and you said a couple of times, it's those small goals, it's the small actions, it's every little step along the way. And sometimes the things that you're doing, you don't even know where it's actually going to take you, but it becomes a sum of something after a while, and suddenly you find yourself where there's an opportunity at your feet and you go, all right, now I'm ready to take that on. Whereas, if that opportunity came around 6 months prior or a year prior, you might not have actually been ready for it, or may not have been able to take advantage of it in the best way possible. So it's exciting, man. Like, I'll say it because I'm an old man now. Yep. Well done, mate. I'm really excited to see what's coming up in the future for you. Well done. Yep.
Thanks, man. No, look, I think I don't know, man. It's just you gotta have a passion for it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's all about having fun, and sometimes it can get real. Sometimes it can get frustrating, whether it's within the guys in the band, or it's with things aren't going your way for whatever show or something like that. But it all comes down, once you get on once you play for the half an hour or the 45 minutes or the hour that you've got, it's just that doesn't matter, and you end up having a great night. So it can be stressful and whatnot, as you know, and it's a lot of work for little return, I would say, in terms of aspects. Whether it's you never go into it for money, but there's a lot of work you put involved and you put into, and it eventuates to 1 gig or something like that. But it's all worth it. That's the only point I'm saying. Like it's you got to have the passion for it, and it'll happen. It's just a matter of being persistent, consistent, and just knowing what's and being realistic.
Yeah. And look, two really big things. One is that there are no rules. So, you know, whatever rules you think exist as far as what a band should do, they don't actually exist. The only reason there's any sort of perceived rules is because everyone jumps on the bandwagon and just copies each other. So, you know, how you decide to do things in whatever order, yes, okay, there might be certain ways that tend to have a better track record with success, with getting people's attention, or, you know, if you want to get in front of, like, you know, somebody like a booking agent or a promoter, or, you know, someone, an A&R person or something like that, there might be certain things that put you in a better position, but overall there's no rules. And if anything, it's so disruptive now in all industries, including music, where really it's never been a better time to pioneer and just do things that nobody else is doing. So that's quite liberating and exciting. And the other thing is that you're not as restricted anymore as what you used to be. So, you know, years ago it would be, you know, you play in the band, and yes, I mean, going back to what you said before, you do it because you love it, and that's the whole drive behind it. I mean, if you don't enjoy something, then, you know, you're not going to have the longevity. You're going to fade out. You're going to burn out pretty quickly. But, you know, in the past, it'd be the only way that you could be successful or get, you know, any kind of positive return is to really slog it out and bleed for it, and get out there on the road and do the god awful shows and not get any attention whatsoever, and just basically plead and just hope and that cross your fingers that one day things will work out. But now there's so many more avenues and different ways that you can promote yourself, get yourself out there, connect with people. And I think a lot of people get it, but I think a lot of people are still not actually doing it. And so now, you know, the hustle of being able to, you know, contact people directly, you know, whether it be people that just like that style of music that you play, and just winning people over one by one and really connecting with people with direct messages and all this sort of stuff, you know, using social media, using a lot of the live streaming stuff, you know, silly stuff like Snapchat and Instagram stories, and the Facebook stuff as well, YouTube channels, all this online content's incredible. And even, like, you know, speaking to Jono from Tabra, the Tassie band, and he's been umming and ahhing for a while about them doing Twitch live shows, because I know you know, Matt from Trivium's a big Twitch user, and there's a few guys on there that use Twitch for music. And so, you know, that's another option where people can start to find other opportunities out there, and they're not just restricted to one thing. And it's an exciting time. It's really, really cool. And I think there's so many possibilities out there. And I don't think that anybody can afford to sit back and complain about things not working, because there's too many other options that you could try to see, you know, whether there's success in other areas while you wait for the bigger things to eventually come and knock on your door.
Absolutely. Yeah. The Twitch thing's huge now, isn't it?
Look, man, I've known like bugger all about it. Like I always saw it as a gaming platform, and I've never been a massive gaming person, because I just know that I'd probably just lose my life instantly. But
Same.
I've got my other podcast that's all about sort of like self-employment sort of stuff, and but also talk about side hustles, like ways to earn some money on the side. And you can make money on Twitch, so people just live stream them playing video games, and you can make some more money. Like some people do it full time. And so Jono has his own gaming Twitch thing, but he also said, like, there's people on there that just stream anything. There's a guy who just has a camera set up on his little aquarium with turtles in it, and people just watch the
God,
turtles just crawling around in the aquarium. And
I would watch that.
yeah, I know. And so there's heaps of like weird and wonderful things on there, but a lot of musicians are on there, and
Yeah.
and I think it's getting to a point now, and you know, and even YouTube's got this facility. There's a lot of live streaming platforms out there, but you could easily do live shows from like a really sort of well produced rehearsal studio, put your whole production up, and do some sort of candid live show with a stream with a paid subscription that people can you know pay to tune in and watch a live set. And suddenly you're not restricted to the people that are in Melbourne or the people who are in Sydney. You can get a global audience instantly, where you could even have a moderator or somebody that's logged in while you guys are playing, answering questions or whatever, or you guys stop between songs and answer questions. And then you could probably even, and this is me getting a little bit too salesy, but you could even upsell people like your latest EP, your merchandise. You could do exclusive discounts while people are tuned in, like only for you guys. If you go and order this now, like we'll physically sign some stuff while we're here and send it to you, you know, just like silly things like that. But man, like there is so many possibilities. Like
Absolutely.
it's incredible, and that's just one of like countless things that bands could be doing, and it'll get there, and there are bands that are doing really cool things, but I think a lot of other bands are sort of still stuck waiting for, you know, oh, gotta get that show, and gotta print the CD and print the t-shirt and hope that we sell enough copies, and then we'll do the next one and just keep doing the same thing over and over again. So it's an exciting time, man. I'm really excited.
I have a Twitch account under my name, like under the YouTube channel name, and have not done a thing about it. So I think you've just fired me up just to try something out, just to give it a go.
Man, you could do just playthrough videos, man. Just play some covers, just do some songs or whatever. You know, and depending on how versatile you are with your repertoire, you can throw it out there and do requests for certain songs or certain bands or whatever. And there's a few guys out there that do similar things and can do really well. So that could be another way to bring a bit more attention to what you, everything that you do, you know, not just the band can be just one facet of you as a whole. So there's yeah, man, that's something to ponder over.
Absolutely.
All right, 100%. Man, cool. Well, I think I'm going to let you go and brainstorm that one, and what we'll do in a million years after this podcast comes out, you toured Japan, you do your Psychroptic show, all that stuff went well, so well done. And we'll catch up sometime, I don't know, in the new year and see how everything's going. But I appreciate you having a bit of a chinwag with me and letting me ramble on, and it's been fun talking.
I really appreciate you having me, man. Like I think I've gotten something out of this more than anyone else would, or yourself would. Like, it's quite inspiring. This is a very inspiring thing to do. I got a lot more comfortable. Probably got a bit nervy at the start, but I don't know. It was cool. It was a fun time, and I would love to do it again one day. It was sick.
Thanks, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that chat with Tim. If you want to reach out to Tim, or you want a little bit of sticky beak and learn a little bit more about all the things that Tim's involved with, the best place to go is to andysocial.net. Click in the show notes there. Instead of me spitting out a whole bunch of URLs, I mean, you can search for Primitive or ESP Guitars on Facebook. You can go to YouTube and just type in Tim's name. You'll find his channel. But just go to andysocial.net. All the links will be there. All his social media pages, everything that he's involved with will be there. Embedded videos, all that content, nice and easy for you. And it's a great way to support these amazing guests further, everyone that's been on the podcast today. But a massive thanks to Tim. Really appreciate it. Great to talk and catch up, and hopefully we can catch up sometime again in the near future as well. And that's it, folks. Quickly, one last show for Lord for 2018. Saturday, November 3rd at the Bullface Stag in Sydney. We're headlining day 2 of the Steel Assassins Festival. You can get tickets for day 1 and day 2, or separate days over at lord.net.au or andysocial.net. Click on the shows tab and there'll be ticket information there. Or you can go to moshtix.com.au, I think it is, and you can get tickets there as well. But as I've been waffling on previous episodes, if you can get tickets up front, please do so. It helps so much for the promoter, for the venue, for the bands involved. It secures funds. It helps legitimize metal in this country and just original music. I think all genres of music need this type of support. So if you've got the coin and you can purchase a ticket in advance, please do so. Don't wait until the door. I mean, if you do, then that's fine. I mean, just show up. That's the main thing. But if you can buy it in advance, please do so. I think we need to change the culture with tickets. I think if we can buy up front, it just helps support everything so much more, and it's just one less thing that you have to worry about spending money on when you get there on the night. So you can use that money on the night, or that mental power, to purchase merchandise or beers or food or whatever else. Just one less thing to worry about. So lord.net.au, andysocial.net, click on the shows tab, ticket information there, and if you've got any questions, let me know. And before we wrap it up, if you want to support this podcast, you can do so in all the usual ways: spreading the word, social media love, buying merchandise, leaving reviews anywhere on the internet. All that sort of stuff goes a long way. It just means a hell of a lot to me. So thank you as always. And that's it. Enough of me. Until next week, folks, take care. Appreciate the support. Keep spreading the word. Take care, take care, take care, take care. How many times can I say it? Time.